Okay, so now we're going to talk about bladder irritants. So how diet can affect your bladder. So foods and fluids that can irritate your bladder pretty much is anything but water. Can you look at this list? Everything is on this list. I can't think of anything else that's not on this list except for non-citrus herbal teas and sun-brewed tea are the only things that are good substitutes for bladder irritants. So personally, if they don't hurt you, I like to drink bladder irritants, and I plan on helping my body be really nice and strong so that way I can have my bladder irritants. And then also overhydrate, so do coffee, water, water, wine. Oh, maybe not that early in the morning. But it's something to consider that someone will say like, oh, I only have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I'm like, well, tell me about that cup. And it's like this huge Yeti thing that's like 72 ounces, and they're only having one of those. Well, of course. A little tidbit that I like to do and recommend is I feel like in our heads, we feel like we need a certain number of like trips to the coffee pot or wine pours to feel satisfied. It's like a part of our brain. And so maybe switching to a smaller cup. So instead of having your big coffee mug, switching to a little tea glass. I had a lady who was so clever, and she switched from her big old sweet tea to hot tea. And so she just went from having a lot of sweet tea to a smaller hot tea, and that it resolved her issues almost instantly. It made me look really good. So try to find the things that you are adding to your diet that may aggravate this. So like, I want to show milk is on here. Like, so someone's like, oh, I only have 1 cup of coffee, but then they add artificial sweeteners. They add milk. They add artificial like food coloring. Like at the coffee shop, they add like little fun things in there, like hazelnut. So you have your 1 cup of coffee, but you have 3 other irritants in that 1 cup of coffee. So just something to point out. So I hope this is helpful. And I want to also show you about drinking enough of the right kind of fluids. You should not restrict fluids to control your bladder. A decrease in liquid intake does result in a decrease in volume of urine, and the smaller amount of urine may be highly concentrated. And as soon as a dark urine hits your bladder goes Pleh! And it'll just get out of you. All of a sudden you'll be like leaking and didn't even move positions or cough or sneeze or anything. And then whenever you do go to the bathroom, you'll look back and be like, oh, well, it's really dark urine. Well, of course, the bladder cannot handle a highly concentrated urine. So, and it also encourages the growth of bacteria, which I mentioned previously, and the infections also result in incontinence. UTI, it'll just, those bacteria just makes the body just wants to get rid of it. So I hope that is helpful. This next page is a caffeine chart. So I like to point out that a brewed cup of coffee is 135 milligrams. But then Starbucks Pikes Peak is 165, but then even the Bigelow Raspberry Royale tea is 83. So like, that's interesting. But if you have a leaf or bag tea, it's only 50. And so just pointing out those kind of things. And someone will be like, well, I only have 1 cup of coffee, but then it turns out that they're also having and taking Excedrin for headaches constantly. That's 130 milligrams whenever they do that. So now we're on to, oops, I skipped a page. And now we're on to Cokes. So root beer only has 30 milligrams, and then caffeine free obviously has none. And someone will be like, oh, I don't have any ever, but I love chocolate. Starbucks coffee ice cream has 40 to 60. Haagen-Dazs, I only have Bluebell, so I don't even know how to say that word. Haagen-Dazs? Anyway, Bluebell. from Brenham, shout out to there, has 58, which is more than that bag of iced tea that we had earlier. Dannon coffee yogurt, 45, but then hot chocolate only has 5. Like, I would think that hot chocolate would have more than that, but Hershey Special Dark has 31. So as you are taking in these things, I hope that you realize Sunkissed, 40. It's an orange drink. What are they doing putting caffeine in an orange drink? Like, these are things that I feed my kids on a special day. But man, that is just amazing. So remember that, and remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made.